So Imad, glad to have you, man. You've been a legend in the space, in the high ticket space. You're doing a lot of big things, working with a lot of big companies, a lot of behind the scenes, which, the behind the scenes guys are usually they know the most because they're responsible for all the inner workings and stuff. So I'd love to pick your brain, love to hear more about your story and see where this goes. So talk to me, man. What got you into just the remote high ticket sales space to start?
Well, let me do for starters, dude. Thank you for having me. It's kind of funny. We were just talking about this before, how we started off in RCA. We were both doing sales training calls. And those were the legendary ones, man. You never knew what to expect, And I remember we were asking one of the students, like, "Why did you come to our calls the most?" They're like, "Well, we just never know what's gonna come out of your mouth." It's like, you always say some reckless things that like just make us learn the process better. So it's just funny how far like your 3 years goes, you know what I mean? Uh,
100%.
but to kind of for my story, bro, actually started off as a dating coach. Was a dating coach in college for a little bit. Made money, but I didn't realize what money would look like. It was like I think $50 a client, and it was like what, 3 clients a month, so $150. In my head, that was like a lot of money back in college. Like, dude, that's it's good. You know what I mean? You already got everything paid for. You're already kind of set. Um, but did that, and then I ended up getting hired by one of the biggest coaching companies in New York City. Didn't know what digital marketing was at all in the beginning, and then eventually got an ad, I want to say during COVID time. And I realized that, dude, these people were charging a lot of money for dating coach, and I'm over here spending what? I mean, charging $150, $100 for like a session. And then the boss that hired me was charging 3K, but she never told us at the time. So then when I found out, I basically was like, hey, how can I get a bigger chunk of that pie? And I want to be able to do more. Like, how about I start closing for you? And then I started closing, and then I started learning more and more about digital marketing. And then before you know it, I ended up becoming one of the main operators of the company. Then we scaled it to 6 figures. Then once that happened, I realized I'm like, oh, okay, I'm basically doing everything for this company. Why don't I build my own stuff on the side as well? And I asked her, I was obviously like, she was one of my best mentors. And she was like, yeah, you can build your own thing. As long as I was honest with her and how we manage clients, she was totally fine. So then I ended up building my company and took it to 6 figures initially. And that's where one of the people that I trained was a closer. He connected me to Cole, which is RCA. At the time, I closed, I mean, 6 figures worth, but I wasn't like a savage, but I understood it so well. And also like I was getting what, maybe like 7 leads a month, but I was closing most of them because it was like one of those things where you were like, yo, you have like one lead, you got to like make the most out of it. Like I look at closers nowadays, they have like 25 calls a week, dude. So lucky. Like I never lived in a world where I had 25 calls a week. Dude, if I lived in a world where I had 25 calls a week, bro, I would be raking in money all the time. So for me, I literally learned through the struggle, through like having nobody. And all these like entitled closers nowadays are like, oh my God, I can't make the most out of there's no leads, and they have like 20 leads or they have like 15 leads. And I'm like, you can always just set your own calls. How bad do you want it? Do you want to make money? Do you want to do all these things? So one thing led to another. I ended up working with closers. That was really the big breakthrough for me where it really kind of transformed my mindset around uh, what sales was actually about. I've studied with so many other sales giants beforehand, but then closers was the kind of final piece where when I really started teaching it, that's when I became like a savage. And you don't realize how
Mm.
good you become until after you're done teaching it and then you start closing again. You're like, holy crap, going over like 1,000 sales calls, sales reviews, I mean, call reviews. Dude, you literally hear every objection under the sun. Like you can throw anything at me at this point and I'll find a way to get around it because I've just heard them all. And I mean, I can say the same for you because we were both on those calls going through those call reviews over and over and over again. Uh, and then, yeah, man, got into that, helped build the back end out for Cole, took it from like 0 to 1.4 million in 3 months. That was a big game changer for us. Then one of acquisition.com's companies, portfolio companies, brought me on board. Three of their closers were trained by me, and their sales manager was trained by me, which got them. to like basically give him the incentive of being like, oh, we want to hire him for that reason. Went on board with them, tripled their cash collected and revenue for their back end sales within 2 weeks of joining. It's exactly what I
Wow.
did with what we did with Ascension and RCA. At the point, I was like nervous. I'm like, damn, maybe I got lucky. Then I did it for that acquisition.com company. I was like, okay, maybe we got something. And then I just kept on doing it over and over again for other companies after that. Uh, and yeah, man, the rest became history. Now, companies being run as a fractional COO. I've learned so many parts of different companies, especially us working for a company that did $8 million a month. It really opens the door and it shows you how successful companies run, and it teaches you what works and what doesn't, which was, I think, at least for me, my biggest blessing.
100%, 100%. I want to hear more about bringing the back end over at closers from 0 to 1.4 million in 3 months. What do you think led to that?
Well, I think it's kind of funny because usually when I'm having this kind of like interviews questions, people don't actually understand because they didn't see like RCA, they weren't part of it, compared to you where you were literally there through the process and seeing it kind of play out. But I mean, one of the big things we did was we had good connection with people. Like if you notice, the people that got the most upsells were the ones that had the best relationships with the clients. What does that look like? Did the clients trust you? Did they believe that you actually knew what you were talking about? And could you actually help them? And
Hmm.
a lot of people don't systemize that process. I think when I first came into RCA, nobody had a system. Nobody had an SOP for the client journey. And I came in within 2 months, had like the highest number of hires, highest number of recruits, and trust pilots within literally 2 months. Everybody was shocked, like, how are you doing it? Well, I just built out SOPs and I saw what was working. I would just constantly experiment. We had what, like 80 clients and to start off with. We just got thrown in the fire. We just lived and we learned, this didn't work, amazing. This worked, amazing. This frame worked, amazing. This frame didn't work, amazing. So the things that worked, I would just take them and put them in SOPs, put them in SOPs, put them in SOPs. So then I get a whole entire system that I knew was gonna work for sure. And that's when I kind of started. And I think that's when you came in like I think 2 months after or like right after.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure when you started, but I remember when I came in, you were the top guy when it came to those metrics, right? And I remember getting on a one-on-one with you and just being like, "Hey, you're getting the most results here. Show me how you're doing it." And you pulled out all of these SOPs, these docs, and you're like, "Hey, if you need trust pilots, here's the SOP. For the overall coaching journey, here's the SOP. For this, here's you had it all kind of mapped out." And I was like, "Okay, this is what I got to do."
Well, dude, there's a road to success. Replicate it. If it works for one, do it. And everybody tries to like reinvent the wheel. No. You know what I mean? See what somebody already has, take it, adjust it, see how it makes sense to you, and then once you understand it well, then play with it. I didn't go in there first week being like, oh, I'm gonna build SOPs. No. I just went and I remember at the time, Chris Atke?
Hmm.
Yeah, because he was a top guy before. And I'll never forget, like, the second month of me coming in there, he came to me and he was like, he's like, dude, you know how like closers used to have like monthly check-ins and like who had the top things and who had,
Yeah, yeah. The leaderboard
he was
kind of
like,
thing.
he was like, in the past 11 months, I've never seen anybody like tie with me in the mid-month. And I'm like, bro, this is gonna be and I literally remember telling him, I'm like, enjoy. That's the last time you'll ever see your name on that board again. And after that, it was the last time he ever saw his name on that. He beat me that month by like one, and then after that, he never saw his name on that again. But the whole point was like, I literally went and I watched him work, and I saw what he did, and it made sense. He just poured in more time into his people. They trusted him more, and he built out systems for everybody. And I
Hmm.
took that, I learned from him, and I just replicated it, and then just made it better in specific parts that built up. So then by the time we were building Ascension, the trust was already so built, and the people that already saw the way I navigated were just so bought in that it was such an easy upsell. In terms of they were like, all right, we want to work with you. Plus, Trust Pilot already built authority. Everything was already perfectly aligned for it to work out. But it wasn't just like a random thing. It was the foundation that was being built. This is what a lot of closers don't do, what a lot of CEOs don't do. People just don't do that. They don't build a strong foundation. If you can focus on doing the boring work in the first 2 months, I promise you, you will save yourself so much headache and problems 3 years down the line, 2 years down the line.
Hmm. So it's really how you treat those clients on the front end, the relationships you build, the connections you build with them is going to lead to, hey, when we're ready to launch a back end offer, an explosion like 1.4 million.
So this basically I built out. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
It's a very simple version, but everybody, there's always a regular client success journey, and then there's always an emotional client success journey. A lot of people miss this part. So like you look at it and you're like, all right, student right here. Cool, amazing. What happens when he's happy or she's happy? Okay. Raving reviews. What does that lead
Hmm.
to? Potentially podcast review testimonial, which is exactly what we did with RCA, but I think that was genius because you get content and you get a little glimpse of what is it called? You get content and reviews.
Hmm.
So basically people saying how great the product is. Trustpilot or Google or whatever. Then you have referrals if they're happy. If student success, they see a clear path, then you can also like set them for the next thing. Invite them to something else. Have more buy-in for closers to win. Compared to then if you have like an unhappy student where it's like refund. What do you do for that? Well, they have the 72 opt-out period. Then you do refund training. If they can't get refunds, how do you support them in not getting refunds? Do you see what I mean?
Hmm.
If they're not happy, they're ghosting. What do you do? What is ghosting coming from? Fear. How
Mm.
does that, but you see like how it's so systemized in every aspect. So whenever somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm like, did you look at the chart?
And
What part of the
is
chart?
this what you brought over to that team under acquisition.com in order to triple up their company in the first 2 weeks?
Well, the thing that tripled their backend was redefining the offer. So what they were doing is they basically would have a 4 month program, and after the 4 months, you would pay them $1,000 left or $1,000 extra, so they can just continue doing the same thing they did before. I mean, it wasn't sexy because it's like all right, you're just a continuation of the program. They're not really getting anything new. There's nothing incentivizing them to buy because they had a decent experience in the program. They're not gonna jump. So I asked them like, all right, cool. What's the main goal for them in the program? Well, 10K after the 4 month. Okay, cool. What are the top students doing? Well, 20 and 30K. Okay. What do those students then want after? Well, they just want to learn how to make it to 50 and 60K. Okay, well, how do you get to that level? Well, it's opening more businesses. Okay, now we got something. So moving forward, I'm like, let's cut the $1,000 out and let's build the program off building enterprise value. What is enterprise value? It's your ability to buy and sell businesses. So then we took $1,000 program and we made it a $16,000 program initially and be like, $16,000 for the whole entire year. We're going to teach you how to build, sell business, and then you're going to learn the skill of doing that, which is going to be worth $16,000 plus doing everything more. And you get access to the top, to the CEO and the COO.
Mm.
And they're like, dude, no one's going to buy that. I'm like, no one's going to buy that from you. All right. Very different ball game. And I went in, and again, I don't know this offer at all. This is the first 2 weeks. I'm literally like, I'm gonna at the point I was gonna start in like August, and it was like I think mid-July, and I was like, don't pay me for this month. Let me go in, and I'll just get paid off the commission of what I bring in. And I was trying to negotiate a big retainer.
Hmm.
And they're like, yeah, sure, I'm like, cool. And then that in those 2 weeks, I proved my value. I literally came in and we made $60,000 cash collected and their top month was between I think 22K. But it's like I got a piff on the first 16K. They're like, oh my God. Then we increased the price to 20K. And then we just did the whole entire thing, 20, 24K. But what's interesting is like people don't realize, and that's why I say closer is always like, oh, I don't know the offer. I don't know if you're a closer, you're a closer. As long as you can understand the psychology of sales and why people buy and you can actually listen to their problems, you will always be good. Um,
Hmm.
and that just tripled their thing. And then it's funny because now that company would have lost it all if because their front end isn't what's bringing them all the money now. The back end that I built out for them is the thing that's keeping their company alive. And what's crazy is now the front end isn't doing as well as it did in the past. So if they never built out the back end, the company would have ran out of business.
Hmm.
It's wild to think about.
That is wild. And I mean, with a really good back end, you can spend more as well because you're just like, hey, as long as we break even on the front, we know we're going to make that money back later.
100%. And your back end sales liquidate your ad spend for the front end sales.
100%.
So yeah, man. It's been
So
a
you
fun
went from, crushing it over at closers, jumping on that team at acquisition.com, helping them scale out their back end offer. Where did you go from there? I know you worked with a couple other companies. Um, are you just bouncing and kind of consulting with different companies? Are you running your own? Like, what is that? What are you doing right now?
So that's what I was doing. I did some private coaching here and there. I didn't really focus on it. But I jumped from offer to offer. I would just go in, scale the company, leave, go in, scale, leave. And I realized I was getting stuck in this kind of like rat race.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Where I was making good money, but I wasn't really growing. It kind of got boring. And I'm like, all right, because I knew how to fix these problems. And I also made the mistake of like not asking for equity or like
Mm,
not knowing how to ask for equity. And I believe I was worthy of equity or whatever, when in reality, I was the reason these companies were making a lot of money. Um, so that was kind of a big mental blip, mental like shift that I had to make within myself. I worked with another company after that. It was decent. Didn't do as well as I would like because there was some like the model, it was like I got into the offer and the model was kind of dying out.
mm.
It just didn't make sense. And then after that I ended up working for I think Jason Wojo. Have you heard of Wojo Media?
Yeah, yeah. Wojo Media, I see their ads.
Yep, he's in my opinion, he's like top 10 like media buyers in the world. Guy's phenomenal. Even top five, I would even say. And one of the big things for him is he was really, really good at money, but they were really bad at client retention just because of his brand online. So I came in and had to, my goal was to like rebrand the whole entire company. And we took them from like, their agency was about doing about 240, and we took them from 240 to 670 within 1 month. And
Mm,
it's like,
that's their monthly.
and now they're at like, I think 1.1 million. I literally just left them, I want to say a month ago or 2 months ago. Um, but basically, it was like building the culture. I realized my skill set really comes in from building culture within teams, like
Mm,
going in, organizing it, putting people in the right place, and then taking people that don't belong in those seats, putting them in better seats so they can actually like excel and thrive in their position. But yeah, dude, so much learning, man, so much learning. It's kind of what we talked about before, where like I talked to some COOs or executives at like major like 5,000 Inc. Well, yeah, major five, I think 500.
yeah, yeah. 500, 5,000. Yeah.
You get what I mean.
Yeah, I get
Big
what you're
companies,
saying.
major companies.
Yeah.
And sometimes, dude, I feel like my skill set is so much more vast than theirs.
Mm,
And it goes back to the whole like, yo, these companies really start with like $50 million or like $5 million. And for us, we literally start with like $1,000 and a dream.
bootstrapping.
You know what I mean? And they're not even, you know what I mean? You're just kind of like winging it off social media. And then you create magic out of nothing, and you just learn how to just be creative with the money you have and just know how to finesse.
Hmm.
I think imagine you give me a $50 million budget. Are you serious for a company? Bro, watch. You give me like a $10 budget and we already make magic happen. We need to make this we need to have this event for literally 5K. What are we gonna do? Bet. Let's figure it out.
Oh man. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of our industry, and just a lot of people that come into online sales in general when it comes to high ticket agency services, coaching, consulting. A lot of the companies are bootstrapped. They don't usually go the typical route of like seed funding and those kind of things. And it gives you the opportunity to build those skills that if you ever do go into that world, you have a massive skill advantage, right? I've seen closers go and crush corporate sales because those industries are a lot of spray and pray high volume. Now you're doing the work, but you're coming in with a different set of skills that give you a ton of leverage. So I wanna hear you talk about, building culture within teams though, because you said that's kind of where your skill set mainly lies. So tell me about if there was a company, let's say watching this, they already have a team of, 3 or 4 people, maybe the culture is not that good. How would they turn that around?
Well, the first things that I do usually is I fire the weeds. As you kind of have to, when you go into a company, you kind of have to make a shocking statement. You got to show them that, hey, listen, we're rebuilding because most companies already have a specific culture that's already built. Some companies are very laissez-faire, they don't care. The CEO is very lenient. So everybody just kind of knows they can walk all over the boss, or they're just terrified of confronting them. There's really no balance. I think when I go in there and I reframe the structure. Like for instance, showing up on time, extremely important. If you're late 3 times, you're fired. Like this is not a game anymore. Also, setting up the new company values. What are the company values? What do we follow? Because whenever somebody then doesn't show up the way they're supposed to show up, you always go back to the values. Are you aligned with the company values when you acted it from this place? Yes, no. If you no, why? And if yes, you know what I mean? Explain to me. And then once you understand that, then you also find out the people that are holding the team back. Because sometimes one or two people can be the reason why your company isn't skyrocketing. They're always negative. They're always bringing the team down. They're always like building doubt and fear. The biggest thing the people want is they want to feel safety and security.
Mm,
A lot of company owners don't know how to make their team feel safe and secure. So it's like for me, my intention is like, all right, I need to understand your pain. I need to understand your goals. I need to understand your motivations. Because if I can understand all three of these things, then I can know how to motivate you in the best possible way. So when I speak to you, I'm speaking to you in your language that gets the best out of you. And that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel understood, and that also makes you feel valuable to the company. If you feel valuable, I get a 10x return on you. When I feel valued, I show up, I'm 110%. If I feel like I'm just another number, I couldn't give a rat's ass. I work from 9 to 5 and I leave the company. Compared to somebody that's actually relying and betting on me, that's a big difference. Also, leadership. If leadership isn't trained to be good leaders, you kind of shit the bed. So when I went into Ultimate, the biggest thing is what I noticed is it was like the CEO, it was the Wojo or the owner, the CEO, the client success director, and everybody else. And while I mean that's dandy and all, it doesn't make sense because we had 50 employees. So going in there, the biggest thing I did was I went in and I there was like different pods. So I went and I took the best copywriter made the copywriter manager, then the design manager, and then you have the client success director, and then the sales manager. And then we put them all together, and then we would meet once a day for 15 minutes so we can catch problems. Because before they were catching problems a month in, because they'd have like
mm,
one team leadership meeting. And it wasn't even a team leadership, it was just not even without the copywriting the team or without the graphics team. But now we had every single person in sync. So whenever problems came up, we would like figure them out. Then I also did trainings for every single one of those leaders, how to show up better. I had them then create SOPs for their whole entire department so they could be replicatable. In case that we wanted to fire any of them, I could replicate them. And that's good for business owners because at that point, if you have a very valuable client, you don't want, or a valuable employee, you don't want to lose him or her. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to replicate them and see what their daily process looks like, what they're doing, and how they're showing up. Have recordings of their sales calls and recording of their one-on-ones, so you can see how they operate, but you can also understand how they connect to their employees. So through that, trust got built. Through that, safety got built. People felt inspired, but also they realized that the value they were getting transcended the actual role itself. I think that's the
mm.
biggest part where a lot of employees will see like, yeah, I'm working with this company. The only value I can get is just learning from this company compared to like getting life lessons, getting value in terms of how to build myself to that next level, which is more than just a company where you're just not a number. But and my goal here for you is to leave this company, eventually become great. When you give them that incentive and you give them that trust, they then give you more of their energy. So slowly but surely, the company culture just kind of started switching, and you saw that everybody went from survival mode to happy, to feeling more connected, to feeling more in tune and aligned with the company vision, which is something that we never really had, where a lot of felt expendable, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was the big thing that I saw in that opportunity where I'm like, all right, let's never make that the case, but still get the most out of our players.
So how do you make someone feel valued so that you can get the most out of them?
Find out what their why is. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's like people usually find the surface level why. Oh, well, I just want to make a lot of money. Cool. Why? Well, I want to make a lot of money because I was poor growing up. Okay, makes sense. So why do you want the money? Well, because I want my parents to accept me. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Your parents don't accept you? Well, they never thought I was going to amount to anything. So basically, the money for you is just so you can feel like you can amount to something in their eyes. Okay, what does that look like when you finally make it in their eyes? Is it a validation? Is it love? What is it? You're doing a deep discovery with your employees. So then let's say you tell me that basically you just wanted your parents to tell you they loved you. I know it sounds crazy, but like I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from employees. Where I'm
Mm,
doing this because I want to impress my parents or I want to retire my parents. My parents flew in from Vietnam and they did everything to pour into me and now I want to pay them back. So now when I'm talking to you, I'm like, dude, but you told me you wanted to retire your parents, and the way you're showing up right now is not the way to retire your parents. Even if you left this company, even if you got fired, you're not the person that is capable of retiring your parents right now. The
so
person that
holding
will
them
retire your
accountable.
parents, 100%, to their specific goal and not this to the thing that's connected to their
Yeah.
being of what pushes them forward.
To not like I want to make 10K a month as a closer, but to that deeper why, like you said, when you do that deep discovery that they have.
100%. But that's also why my clients in RCA all paid their bills on time. Because when I got to know my clients, I got to know them on that deeper level of just, and I held them accountable to that deeper level. I would literally call them and be like, yo, why is your name on the finance sheet? Like, why am I getting yelled at by Sasha at the time? You know what I mean? Why? Like, and just with that tonality, they would immediately, yeah, I'm gonna pay it right now.
Mm,
It was like that expectation of being like, hey, I'm putting time and effort into you. I expect you to do the same to me. You not paying this is not you now you're disrespecting me.
mm-hmm,
You get what I mean? So it's like I respect you, you respect me, we work together, we're building together. We're not against each other, we're a team, we're collaborating.
mm-hmm. And doing that with every member on the team.
It's the boring shit, bro. It's the shit nobody wants to do. Those simple texts when your team is going through and they text you late at night, be like, hey, I need to talk. Do take that call. Because that call could be the thing that keeps somebody for 3 years. That could be the thing that keeps somebody for another 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. When you're working with a company, what are the companies you want to stay with the longest?
Yeah, the ones that seem like they actually care about what you want.
When you first came into RCA and we connected, I mean, how much did I pour into you?
A ton, a
And every time
ton.
you asked me, yeah. And I had the most amount of clients, and I would still go in and pour in, but what do you need?
And I remember one time I was actually doing a back end deal and I was trying to close it and there's a whole bunch of payment issues with the processor card wasn't going through all that. And I remember you were one of the people I called and you were out on the town. I think you were out with Matt at the time. You guys were having fun, doing whatever on the streets. And you still took the time, even though you were out, you still took the time to, connect me with someone that could get me a payment link so I could make that sale. So, and that stuff, that stuff means a lot.
100%. And it's like you pour into your people, dude. Even like, but here's the point with no expectation. When I send you the referrals, I don't send you with anything. I've never asked you for, oh, pay me for this. I'm just be like, yo, I want to see my boy grow. Any way I can help him, cool. We came up together, we support each other, and I think that's the mindset I always take with me. And it's been something that paid me a lot of money because I've always just always give, 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 and I promise you, you will receive. People try to gatekeep.
100%.
Stop trying to gatekeep. Just support your people.
100%. And kind of moving up the ladder, right, with the sales managers. You mentioned before that, you came in, you're very SOP focused, something that's duplicatable, repeatable, so that if someone has to let go, you can kind of plug someone else in that process. Mostly on the sales team leadership side, what are some of the SOPs and processes? What are some of the consistent day-to-day things that you've seen sales leaders have done that led to the companies that you've seen scale the fastest?
Biggest things are KPIs. Trainings, dude. Trainings are so, so important. When your team is doing good, um, you should look at what they're doing good and you should actually train on what they're doing good. And remind them to do it because closers get cocky. Closers are very emotional people. So it's like unless you can understand your closers' ticks and their yeses and their nos and what gets them motivated and what gets them demotivated, dude, you're gonna be so screwed. So for me, it's extremely important to constantly do training. So for what I do is I do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays KPIs, and then basically some questions that need to happen, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays are always training, always.
Mhm.
So Mondays and Wednesdays we talk about what's working, what's not working, where we need to get, and then I also go through the clients and be like, all right, who do you have on the list? Who are you going to be closing? Give me the whole breakdown. And I think it's really important to do it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday because it gives you like beginning of the week, midweek, are we actually on track to hit our goals? And then end of the week, did we actually hit our goals? And if we did it, we work the weekends to hit our goals. We don't say something we're not gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Say we're gonna do it. And then Tuesday and Thursday we do call reviews or we do role plays. I
Mm-hmm.
find role plays work really, really well. And so do call reviews, but role plays more because you get to throw them in the fire and see how they react. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about? So that's kind of been my like, I mean, my secret sauce, but it's pretty, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty standard. But that structure is very, very important. And obviously, like end of day reports, see where everybody's going, and QC. QC is so important.
Have a lot of vision, so you know what's actually going on.
Yeah,
When you say like train on what they're doing good, do you mean to the point where you're even maybe shifting a bit of your sales philosophy if you see that maybe something that they're doing is consistently working for that specific offer, or what
I
do you
never
mean?
listen. If something's working, I don't change it. Even if I disagree with it, nope. It's happened in the past. I've learned my lesson. Something is
Mm-hmm.
working, I do something different, they start shitting the bed. Nope, come back. That was one thing I learned the hard way. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I I follow the data. I don't follow the emotion. I used to follow the emotion. Does not take me far. It's a good balance. You go follow the data, but also follow the emotion. But like the most important one is the data. What are the numbers telling you? What story are they telling you?
Mm-hmm. So when you guys are, or I guess when you've seen or yourself have brought on a new rep, and that like how strict are you with that sales rep coming into the team and selling the exact way that yourself or I guess the current reps on the team are selling versus them coming in with their own style and them being confident in the way they sell? Let's say they're like, oh, I did XYZ's training and I sold here and I closed at a high rate. Or what
Hey,
would you
listen,
say?
follow initially when you come in, follow our style. But if you're gonna do your own style, you better pull it off. That's my thing. Because for me, I usually when I go into a company, I do my own style and I usually pull it off. So then I'm just like, hey, I'm part of the team, but let me do me and I'll make you a lot of money. But I usually can back it up because for me, like I'm obsessing about seeing what that works for them, and I'll come and do my own way. But I won't do it right away. I'll see all right, what works. I'll try their method. Did it work? Amazing. Did it not work? Okay, let's try it out. And then when I see something that works for me, and I'm a firm believer in letting somebody, you know, work their magic and impress me. Like show me what you're capable of, you know. And sometimes people throw you off. Sometimes people have the best objection handling, and then they get into the alpha and they suck. So you can never really tell who's actually about it and who's not. It's so difficult.
Hmm. And when it comes to kind of just leading teams, when do you think for sales reps, when do you think a manager should let them go? Especially if you're building such deep connections, understanding their deep why, that can make it hard for some people to then turn around and fire an underperforming rep. So what's kind of your SOP around that?
They miss KPIs for 2 months straight, and yeah, at that point we have a pip. And if they miss the third month, we fire them on third month.
And what does that conversation look like?
Well, here's the thing: you miss SOP for I actually built the SOP for firing people. I swear to God,
You got them all. There you go.
dude. It's like let me just show the audience. Let's see. I'm gonna be called the SOP guy at this point. Here's like my whole thing, my whole Java SOPs.
There you go. Should put together a website and just have a bunch of opt-ins.
Dude, I built out an offer for this, but it's not a sexy offer.
Mm,
Here it is, like termination document SOP. 5 steps. Every department head should have these. Create KPIs, metrics for departments, set proper expectations and standard, no random firing, no put employee on performance improvement plan before firing, micromanage initially with your employee until enough trust has been built for them to do the job daily. Before firing, see what I mean?
hmm.
Value at the why, reach out to leadership, prep for the meeting, firing meeting. Show up everything is broken down step by step. Then the actual script.
For how to go about firing.
100%. But do you see what I mean? Like that is so, so important.
Hmm.
Because it breaks down everything. It's so simple, but it's like what worked and what didn't. Usually people will fire people randomly and it kills morale. Now you're destroying company culture. Because you're destroying company culture, now people are more inclined to leave. People start looking for other jobs because they don't feel like they're safe. You see how like it's like a game of chess. One wrong move can have a bigger impact on you than you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of my take on it.
And just to kind of, as we wrap it up, you said that you're kind of transitioning into almost a completely new industry, man. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, dude, I want to leave the coaching industry. I wanna play in investments, and mergers and acquisition. Like I want to start playing with. I want to sell a company, and I think now I've been getting a lot of opportunities for people that wanted me to come on board to do CLO work, to do sales manager work. But the reality is, I want an equity play where I come in for a big amount of equity. We scale a company to 100, $200 million that has legs, and we go from there. Because I feel like a lot of coaching industries, I think Hormozy kind of did this and he kind of skewed the perception of what $100 million company looks like. Because now everybody and their mothers think that, yeah, we can make $100 million coaching company. And I'm like, no, that's not how that work. I'm like, when Hormozy sold Gym Launch, he sold Gym Launch, a software company, and a supplement company for 128 million. He didn't sell Gym Launch for that much. And I think
Mm,
that's the part that people don't really understand. So it's like they come in like, yeah, my company's gonna be worth $100 million. It's not. It's gonna be worth maybe like 10 million, 20 million, maybe 30. But unless you actually have something attached to it, it's never gonna sell. So that's why like now I'm getting in the Medicare industry. It's very, very lucrative, residual as well. Uh, the book of business is a way to really um, get a lot of the money. So one of the big issues I saw in Medicare is client retention. The client retention sucks. So it's like if we can find a way to solve this problem, but also systemize the process for a lot of other brokerages as well, dude, we can make a killing. So we just did that. We just got an initial investment of 7 figures to start the process, and it's like insane because never have I worked for a company that you just start off with this much money.
hmm
A new world, it's like a what is it? New devils, new levels, or new levels, new devils. So now it's the next step. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's filling out the contracts, the offer sheets, all that stuff is so like humbling because I don't know shit about this. So it's been
mm,
stressful because I'm just like sitting here learning, learning, learning. What I need to know, how, so I don't get screwed.
yeah.
Um, it's been an eye-opening experience.
Okay. Well, man, I'd love to hear more about where that goes. Excited to see you on your new journey, new path into Medicare. Dude, you've been crushing it and you've just been selling more and more expensive stuff. Now you're going to sell some companies. So excited to see that, excited to hear about it. And
Yeah.
man, I hope you crush. I hope you crush
Mm,
it over there because I know you will. It's a whole new ball game, but you've got a lot of skills that you could bring over there that, like you said before, a lot of people don't have.
I appreciate that, man. Dude, super humble to be here. Thank you so much. Grateful for you as always. And dude, I'm excited to see how we constantly keep growing.
Yeah, man. We'll connect again.
Beautiful.